Jesus freak here. Now, this is a time of the month I tend to be pinching pennies a little bit, and I'll admit that it's somewhat by choice. I chose to pay off a bill before I had to get it off my back. I think I mentioned that. But, in fact, at the same time that I'm pinching a little bit, relatively speaking, I'm actually doing pretty well. I got plenty of food. I got just under $15 in food stamps to make do until Wednesday. My disability check comes on Tuesday, so I'm not worried. I got more than enough. I've had a lot of people come up to me, and when they find out how well I'm managing to get by, and how little I get every month, their jaws hit the floor. Like, how can you live on that? Well, yeah, I do have a little bit of help. It's not a lot. And I can manage without it. It just makes things easier. But I do pretty well. I was taught from a young age the importance of keeping tabs on my money, on how much I spend and what my expenses are. I don't budget in the traditional sense. I still, once a month, do my calculations and decide, how much do I have to set aside? And how much can I afford to throw away? You could call that a budget. It's too informal, I think, to be a budget. And because I don't have a set amount I set aside month to month, I don't see it as a budget. But it's the same idea. I started learning in fourth grade in math class how to balance a checkbook. Now I haven't used checks for anything for 10 years. And even before that I barely used them. Once I was out on my own. The option is still there. Part of my credit union account is a checking account. Sheer drafts, they're checks. But I don't use it. I kinda sorta do the same thing when I hook my PayPal account up to my savings account and I push an amount of money. How much a month depends on how much I need to. I push the amount to my PayPal account, and my PayPal account has a MasterCard that can draw money from it. I see that as sort of the modern equivalent of checks. It also gives me a little protection in case something goes wrong. There was one time my friend sent me some money. I went to an ATM and the ATM took the money out but never gave me the money. And I attempted to call the number on the machine and got voicemail. So I said, this is kind of skeezy. So I called the number on the card, and it took a couple days, but they refunded me the money. Of course, since then, I didn't use that machine anymore, and they've since replaced it. Even now, I barely use it. And as much as I keep some of the state in my head, I'm like, well, I don't have to so much as always write it down, so much as I need to keep track of if something needs to be set aside or whatever, or if something's been spent but doesn't show yet, which I don't have to float money very often anymore. And most of the time, if what I want to do is, if I want to check my how much money I have, I just text PayPal and it tells me. Which makes things a lot more convenient than. Well, I started doing that probably 10, 11 years ago. I've been using cell phones since 2008. And I could do that even on a dumb phone. It was a nice feature, too. And I do something similar with my food stamps. I don't have to so much as keep track. They do tell you how much you have left every time you make a purchase. They print it on the receipt. I actually did for a while save the last receipt. I don't really do that now because I don't really have to. Even then, it was just a 1-800 call away. It's gotten to the point, they used to require you to enter the whole number on the card and then the PIN. Now they require 4 digits off the card and the PIN. Which, I'm fine, you can only do so much over the phone. But I just, dial the number, put it on speaker, put it on mute, pop up the keypad, punch in the numbers, tells me how much I got left. I was kind of sort of doing this with my bank account as early as the late 90s. I used to have a phone number, a 1-800 number kind of system. Actually, I think it was a Lockport phone number, so it was local to me. And it worked the same way. You entered a certain number, you entered your PIN, and they told you how much you had. And I've actually forgotten how that worked because I haven't had to use it much. I think the last time I had to use it, they called it, what was it, Curtis? Credit Union Remote Transaction Information System or something like that. I think the last time I used that was 2006. Might have even been 2003 when I got put on SSI. So, and now, I go to a cash machine, I can get the information off that. And I only need it, like, when I pull my cash out, which is, one or two times a month. I just draw the money out I need, and that's it. Because although I prefer cash, it has become more useful to have the debit card. And in fact, well, first, if I need actual cash, I can draw it off that card, although they do charge me $1.50 to do that. Off the PayPal card. But also, lately there's been situations, oh, we don't have enough change, so we're not taking cash. Which I'm led to suspect might be, partially Steve Mnuchin's fault, but can't say for sure. But the one thing is, I learned early to be very careful of my money. In almost 25 years, I've had exactly two mishaps. One of them was probably around 97 or 98. And I think the other one had to do with the fact that there's an invisible $5 kept in the account at all times. And when I get a balance check from the credit union, it includes it. When I get a balance check from the cash machine, it doesn't. So I forgot about that and had an insufficient funds bounce. Because I had done my monthly withdrawal from the credit union instead of from an ATM. I think that's the only time I've had that happen. So, twice in almost 25 years? I'd say that was keeping a good eye on my finances. Anyway, Jesus freak out.